We have another new patch in Granblue Fantasy Relink, and if you are a fan of buffs, this one is much better than the last one. First of all, we got Tuyen and Siofan as new characters. I'm not really going to focus on them in this video. I will likely be releasing full guides for them, but they both seem to be very fun thus far. So remember last patch when I was disappointed at how we only seemed to get nerfs for the characters? This patch is the exact opposite. Almost every single character change was a buff, including a lot of helpful changes for some of the weaker characters, and a couple for even some of the stronger ones. All characters also got a brand new unique sigil that adds something called Enhanced Damage, which is a way of bypassing the damage cap for a multiplicative damage increase, and some of these sigils are very strong, so I plan to talk about them as well. We also got Bulk Transmutation, so it's significantly less annoying to do that now, and we got two brand new missions as well. One will likely be grinding a lot in the form of the Behemoth fight. In this video, I want to cover all of the balance changes added in the new patch and discuss my opinions of them, and how I think they will change the metagame. If you are interested in guide content for Granblue Fantasy Relink and all other types of RPGs, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it does help me out so much and I will love you forever. Let's get into it. So as mentioned, each character got a new unique sigil that can be purchased at the Knickknack shop for materials. As of right now, transmarveling these sigils seems impossible. Since these are effectively potential buffs for the characters, I do want to talk about them as I talk about each individual character, since I do think these sigils affect the strength of the character kits. I have only personally been able to test out Rosetta and Siegfried since those are my mains, but they seem to be pretty strong across the board for most of the characters at the very least. And each of these sigils has an effect called Enhanced Damage, which is very similar to War Elemental in that it bypasses the damage cap to increase damage by a multiplicative effect. So this means if you had a 100% enhanced damage bonus, that would do double damage that it would previously, and you do not need any more attack increases to get these effects. It's just a straight damage increase, which is really nice. This makes many of these sigils potentially very strong, although a few may have some drawback or be hard to fit into kits since it can't have subtraits with the very limited sigil slots. So let's start off with the captain here. The captain unfortunately ends up being the only character getting somewhat nerfed this time around, but it's kind of an expected change as the damage cap glitch on Decimate has now been fixed, meaning you can no longer cancel a skill into Decimate to get the damage cap increase on that. This is a bit unfortunate as I found Captain to be a bit underwhelming compared to some of other characters, so I would have liked to have seen some other buffs to help out with that, but with the precedent this patch set, maybe we can expect something in the future since this bug has been fixed, and it'll be easier to gauge the true strength of the character now. At the very least, the new sigil that he has helps compensate somewhat, so the captain can get up to a free 10% damage boost if they are able to stay at level 4 arts. Nothing major, but something that is nice to have, and compared to other effects, it may be easier to fit in. The changes to captain in the last patch weren't as bad as I originally thought, but this change only reinforces less skill spam and more use of normal combos for the character, which seems to be the general playstyle of the character now. Catalina got some fairly minor buffs when looking at her specific kit changes, allowing Ares not to be cancelled early by wind boxes, along with increasing the amount of Ares gauge gained by certain attacks. While at first glance these changes may not seem to be what Catalina needs since she felt weaker in the previous patch, she did get compensated very well with one of the strongest sigils in this patch. Whenever Catalina uses her Skybound art, she grants the entire party debuff immunity and a 25% enhanced damage buff for 45 seconds. She is the only character in the game that can grant the entire party this enhanced damage bonus, and 45 seconds is a pretty long time, making this a pretty strong sigil, especially since she won't need Firm Stance anymore to not lose Ares. I think this makes her a pretty strong party support character in this patch especially. Rockcom notoriously got gutted in the previous patch, losing his aerial shotgun spam, but got some buffs this time around, increasing the damage of his Bullseye Blast on his well-timed normal attacks, and there's also a buff to his launch attack, which is whatever, and an increase to Bullet Hail's damage cap. Rockcom can also get a nice 20% enhanced damage bonus from his unique sigil for 15 seconds, and this will help a lot since he was one of the lowest damage characters in the game before. Io got some pretty substantial buffs, which is pretty crazy since I had previously considered her one of the top 3 characters in the game, so giving her buffs means she's potentially even stronger now. Most notably, Flowery 7, when fully charged, now does double damage of the uncharged version, meaning it does an absolutely massive amount of damage now. Stargaze also charges faster, and Link Time and Concentration has been buffed to give debuff immunity and grant the maximum number of Mystic Vortex orbs when you gain an orb within the field. These by themselves are already strong buffs for a character that was already very good, but if that wasn't enough, her sigil is also crazy, granting a 50% chance not to consume Mystic Vortex orbs when casting a fully charged Stargaze, along with granting a 15% enhanced damage bonus for 15 seconds. Io is an extremely strong character now if she wasn't already before. And I think these buffs were really not that necessary, but it's really fun to use really broken characters, so I don't really mind that much. Eugen got a minor buff in the form of Detonator's damage cap being increased based on charge level, along with a 25% enhanced damage bonus during sniper vision when using charged attacks and grenades as his unique sigil. This will likely make sniper vision a bit more worth using even when there is a wall behind Eugen. As Eugen was already a pretty strong character also, I don't really think he needed a ton. Rosetta got some absolutely massive buffs this patch, and as someone who mains her, I could not be happier with them. So Roses will attack more often in Link time, which is nice, but the main things are Spiral Rose and Lost Love got some crazy increases to their damage cap, which are their most important damaging skills, but the damage increasing based on Rose level. Spiral Rose now does almost double the damage it did previously, going from around 32k to 57k, and Lost Love has almost tripled the damage it did previously, going from around 2 million damage to around 6 million damage total. And if that wasn't enough, her unique Sigil also increases the effects of her buffs granted even further, and it also gives double the damage of her Rose auto attacks with enhanced damage at the cost of causing them to wither quicker. Now this can be a trade-off and makes Roses even harder to use against very mobile bosses since they will wither very fast if it's not constantly attacking the boss, but the damage bonus is very nice. All around, Rosetta does a lot more damage now and keeps up with other characters more effectively now. As long as the target can remain somewhat stationary, she'll still struggle a lot against mobile targets, like I said, while also having some crazy high burst damage thanks to Lost Love's buffs. Charlotta got no buffs or nerfs because, once again, I guess she was already perfect, just like previous patch, but she did get a new sigil which grants a flat 10% damage enhanced bonus to attacks in Noble Stance, which is just a pretty nice general boost. Gondagoza is a character who I thought was bottom 3 in the game, so I expected him to get some buffs this patch, but strangely enough, he got nothing, which definitely hurts for a character who I thought was in major need of some buffs to keep up with the rest of the cast damage-wise, along with just feeling generally better to play since he's kind of slow. His unique sigil does grant a 100% damage bonus to Raging Fist, but it does make it charge 100% slower as well. It's at least something, I suppose, that makes Raging Fist damage even more important, but overall, compared to some other characters and what they got, I do feel he got definitely shafted in regards to the fact that he does less damage compared to most other characters. Fairy got some buffs this patch, increasing the damage cap of many of her normal attacks, but according to Fairy mains in the main Discord server, this still does not allow her intended playstyle and Onslaught to outdamage aerial attack spam, which is really unfortunate. Now, it may still be worth using Onslaught some with her new unique sigil, which gives a 50% chance for her pets to not be consumed by Onslaught, while also granting an enhanced damage bonus after using it, which may mean using it every 15 seconds or so is viable and then using aerial attacks between those windows. Naraya, who I also thought was really strong, also got some minor buffs as well, increasing Setsuna's damage cap when fully charged, potentially making charging worth it, and she also got some damage buffs to some of her Dawnfly attacks and her stance change finisher. Her unique sigil gives a pretty substantial damage buff as well, with both a 10% supplementary damage bonus and a 15% enhanced damage bonus after any stance shift, which are doing all the time, making this basically 100% uptime, giving her even more damage than she had before, at the cost of her SBA gauge being 50% slower, which honestly isn't even the end of the world if allies can help build it for you. This means Narm is likely even better now, also and one of the highest damage characters in the entire game. Lancelot did not get any changes, meaning Flight over Fight is still likely very broken on him, and I also thought he was already one of the top 2 characters in the game before, so he likely didn't need anything new. I honestly kind of expected his cheese strat to get nerfed, but regardless, he did get a unique sigil, which grants a 10% damage bonus after a combo finisher for 30 seconds, or after a perfect dodge, so it's basically a free 10% damage bonus, which is very nice. Vayne got some buffs this patch, which seemed focused mostly on making beatdown gauge worth using over just spamming XXYY, since damage cap of beatdown combos has been increased, and Energy's Destruction has also gotten a damage cap buff based on SBA gauge. His unique sigil seems to enforce beatdown gauge being worth using now when it's built up, since there is a 30% enhanced damage bonus on these attacks now, along with the ability to fill the gauge more on block. So this makes beatdown gauge probably something worth using to throw in between your XXY combos when you don't have anything else to do. Percival also got some buffs to compensate for his tech being removed last patch, with his Schlocked damage cap increasing further, along with a buff to Rotorwerber's damage cap. He also gets an enhanced damage bonus on Schlocked when gaining the quick charge bonus, and gets supplementary damage when parrying an attack with this move. These are nice changes that make up for the damage losses that he got in previous patches. Siegfried got some pretty major buffs this patch as well, and as I also main him, I'm also really happy with that, with well-timed combos and perfect execution getting some really large damage cap increases, meaning he's more in line with other characters now, going from mid 20 million to over 30 million damage with the buffs on a score attack, along with being able to spam perfect execution and link time now, making him much stronger there. His unique sigil also gives a massive 40% enhanced damage bonus for his well-timed attacks and perfect execution, but comes at a big cost of lowering his defense by 50%. He can now do over 45 million with these changes likely, but the defense loss hurts a lot for a character normally face tanking, which is something to keep in mind. Verdragon also has a damage cap increase as well. Overall, Siegfried got a very nice boost to his damage this patch, and I'm very happy with it. The defense reduction can hurt if you choose to run that Sigil though, so you may not want to in every situation, especially because he gets a lot of benefit out of running his own defense buffs to help the entire party. So even if you lower your damage somewhat, you still get a lot of benefit out of just having pretty average damage and just being able to massively buff the party in the meantime as well, so that's something to keep in mind. Cagliostro also got some damage cap buffs to her combo D to make it more worth using compared to combo A and C, and also got some damage cap buff on 2 of her skills, Mimic Doll and Alexandria, making these attacks do some more damage since they weren't really that impressive before compared to some of her other skills. Nothing super substantial, but her unique sigil allows her to gain enhanced damage from a combo finisher, and this effect increases to 50% when using different combo finishers. This is a nice damage boost that should be pretty easy to keep the uptime for. Yoda got some fairly minor buffs that increased the damage cap of Flashing Void and Sky Shatter based on triple shroud marks, but as he was already on the lower end for damage, these are some nice buffs to have nonetheless. His counter damage bonus from Tit for Tat was also increased, and he also got a nice 30% bonus to chained combos from his unique sigil. The wording makes me not entirely sure how it works, but I'm guessing if you have the shortest path to a combo finisher built up, you will get this bonus. 30% is pretty substantial as an increase. This is very nice as a sigil to have. Zeta got some pretty substantial buffs this patch, where Arvis for Mirror increases damage she deals, and her loop combos also got a damage cap increase also, which are very big sources of damage for her. Wind Clipper also got a damage cap increase, but the biggest thing is her unique sigil gives a 50% enhanced damage bonus to enemies inflicted with Arvis for Mirror, along with granting basically perfect critical hit rate, meaning she doesn't really need to worry about running critical hit rate anymore as long as she keeps Arvis for Mirror up. Pretty massive, allowing her to do a lot of damage to basically any enemy. Basaga, who was previously one of the 2 best characters in the game in my opinion, also got a very unnecessary buff. His base kit barely changed, where his Y attacks do more damage in link time and his SBA damage is higher, but his unique sigil is basically now a free 30% damage bonus that he really did not need, by consuming just 30% of his health, which is very easy to make up for with a potion. For 45 seconds, he does 30% more damage, meaning he does even more hilarious amounts of damage compared to basically every other character in the game, and is probably just straight up the best character now, since Lancelot did not get nearly the bonuses he did this patch. Honestly, this is just a comical buff where he does about 4.8 million damage per XXYY combo now, which is absolutely insane. And then finally, we have Id, who also got some very substantial buffs this patch. Basically, everything now does more damage in Godm Might. Seriously, there is a whole list of things here which covers basically everything, which means Godm Might is now a lot better than it used to be. In addition, his unique sigil gives a 10% damage bonus in Dragon form and Godm Might at the cost of the gauge depleting faster, but this has an additional effect where it won't deplete upon using a Godm Might finisher, meaning you can use multiple finishers within this window now, potentially making it very worth to unload damage with skills and finishers as much as possible while in this Godm Might form. It remains to be tested how exactly this will affect it, but it's definitely a very nice increase to his damage and makes Godm Might feel a lot stronger, which is very nice. As another note, while we are in this menu, I'll talk more about Siofan and Tuyen sigils in their own video, since I haven't really had time to play them much yet, but they both do have a unique additional sigil that is basically the catastrophe bonus effect, since they don't have those as weapon effects, which sets their health to 45,000 along with a 100% damage cap and 50% attack bonus. These are likely going to be mandatory on these characters if you want to hit damage caps. There's a few new sigils as well, but they don't seem very good, so don't worry about them too much. All in all, I'm really satisfied with the changes in this patch. Only really Captain and Gondagoza got a bad deal if you ask me, and Fairy may need some additional tuning in the future to kind of catch up to some other characters. But all in all, I'm very happy with a lot of the changes in this patch. Some characters like Basarag or Io may be a bit overtuned now, but broken characters could still be very fun in games like this, so I'm still happy. Now, in order to get the new characters and all of these new sigils, you'll need to grind out the Behemoth mission a lot. It's not a very difficult fight at the very least, and drop rates don't seem terrible, but it can be a bit annoying to get some of the materials, as I've already discovered. I think that is going to cover it for this video mainly, though. I hope this video was useful to you when covering all of the changes and explaining them. One thing we can look forward to in the next patch is apparently a sigil synthesis feature, which seems to let you fuse sigil subtraits, so it'll be easier to get optimal builds, which is very nice. No more worrying about curios and all that kind of stuff. Please look forward to guides on Tuyen, Siofan, and the 2 other characters I never did, along with a tier list now that there has been a lot of changes, and I have some time to figure out how it affects the strength of every character. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, and continue watching my other videos. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful and blessed day. Hopefully I'll see you back here soon.